Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Racing Line, the Formula One podcast by fans, for Oscar Piastri, because he has won a Grand Prix. That's right, our man, Oscar Piastri, Aussie Oscar Piastri, has managed to get the Grand Prix hoodoo off his back with his first win. And it comes at a great time for us because we're an Australian Formula One podcast and we're very excited about it. Tristan, how excited are you about Oscar?
I'm very excited. Last week we had to endure British fans and UK fans and everything Silverstone, and it was great, but it's also a little bit painful. So I guess it's our turn to return serve now.
Absolutely.
It's a home win.
How good was it? I'm not big on our national anthem. How good was it
was
to
awesome.
hear our national anthem?
How good was it seeing our flag in between two British flags?
It was so good.
Where ours was first and the British ones were second and third. So
not only do we love a first-time race winner, but I tell you, we love an
Australian race winner.
Yep.
We need more of it. So anyway, we put up with the British fanfare last week. So it is your turn to put up with us.
My word, it is
this week. I make no apologies for that.
No, that's right. You're going to have to deal with it. You've had it all your own way for far too long. No, wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and yeah, very enjoyable. After a while, it was stressful. It wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been in the moment, and we'll discuss all of those things and more. It's a very topic-heavy episode. This one, isn't it?
It is.
But we're going to get into all the goodies. We've got F1.5.
We do.
Do we?
We do.
We will.
We will.
We got fantasy. We got data of the day. All our goodies. A little bit of news. So, yeah, let's get stuck into it. Before we do, though, Paige comes to us with our opening question.
Ooh.
Paige has really shot up lately. Well done, Paige.
Absolutely.
She went quiet there for a while, and it was because of, she said it was because of night shift brain.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, 100%. I could not be a night shift worker. Could you?
Well, it used to be.
Well,
kind of, yeah.
You went to midnight? Later.
Oh, later than that.
Did you?
I think that's why I'm quite a night owl still.
Yep.
I get up early.
Yeah, after this, you'll have a coffee when you arrive, and after this, you'll go home and do things before you go to bed.
I'll kind of be up for another hour as well. But then I also find myself winding down for the end of the day.
Yep.
But then I'll happily stay till 11:30 midnight, just sitting. Just not really doing anything sometimes, just having quiet time, but that's from force of habit. I still get up pretty early.
Yep.
But I'm kind of wired like that now.
Yeah, I used to work till 12 and it was fine, but I was younger then. But yeah, I couldn't be a shift worker these days.
Probably not these days, the way we are going.
Her question was, hey Rog, just listen to the main pod and totally agree, F1 is a shit name for a movie.
Oh.
I've gone early with the swear words.
No, Dan,
I usually try and wait a little while being
a
teacher.
I know.
Kids threaten to listen, they don't last long. Which inspired me for my opening question. What is your title for F1 movie? Paige's is Moto Racing F. Yeah. I don't know whether the yeah is part of it.
What? Moto Racing
F.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, okay.
Yep. And Sam's, because Sam is her second half, his is Formula One, as in WON.
Ah.
Formula One. Yeah, didn't like that one. Bit cheesy. What's your title? What's your title for the F1 movie that's better than F1? Because F1 is the most ridiculous name.
Oh, jeez.
Mine. So the team in F1 is called Apex Racing.
Yep.
And I feel like
just Apex would have been fine.
Apex Racing would have been fine.
I think just Apex.
Apex would have been
just
good.
Plain one word, bang, Apex.
I'm with you.
Yep.
What are they doing? How can they name it Formula One? F1.
I don't know. Did we mention this last week?
We did, yeah.
I feel like Formula One have just said... maybe they had a name.
It hasn't improved.
No, but then F1 have just said...
Now some things grow on you.
Yeah.
Hasn't improved.
I reckon...
F1 haven't asked for it, surely.
No, I reckon they have.
It's just going to be confusing for the rest of everyone's lives.
But even the title on the poster is the logo. They've paid for that. They've paid for that. It's almost like you can access us.
I mean, there's been a lot of that throughout. It is a promotional event, along with Drive to Survive, and they've understood that that's important. So how am I into a second beer?
Is that your second already?
This is my second beer, and we've hardly started. We talked HPV racing.
How did you get? I didn't even notice that you had drunk your first one.
Well, I was thirsty. You took a long time to arrive.
I did. Did you drink it before? I was going to say, you walked in here with two.
Yeah, this is my second one.
Where'd the other one go?
It went down.
I didn't even see you. I didn't even see you do the can. I didn't even hear you open the can.
Yeah.
Did you just inhale the can?
Yeah.
Whole.
Pretty good at it.
I can tell. Look, I'm looking at your side table, which has got a glass from probably last week.
It is last one. It's got a little bit.
Last week's good as well.
Yeah. It's getting. Yeah, I forgot to take them in.
Have you got some still left in the glass too? Looks like there's
a little bit of.
We were just talking.
Stuff growing.
I know. It looks like what I was just saying to you. Like I've got a bit of a scratchy voice this week because I had a cappuccino from my little boy out of his bath coffee maker, and soap and bath water cappuccino is not a great mix.
No.
You
always think
that
you always think that our episodes are very much ran off the first 5 minutes of how it's going to be.
Yeah, that's good.
How's this one going to be?
I think this will be like one of the more up and about ones.
Could be.
I tell you,
it's going to be a little.
And
loose.
I wonder if I'd love to know people's thoughts. With my theory of that is the first 5 minutes.
Do you
Does
notice?
that generally gauge what this week's going to look like?
Do you notice?
I think this will be a fun one. I'm also quite tired too, so I get a little bit. You know,
Emotional?
when you get tired, no, you just get stupid.
Okay.
You're just deliriously tired.
More stupid.
I do that if I go to work and I'm tired. I find I annoy people a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't be
People
bothered.
tell me I'm annoying.
I just
I
go
really
quiet
don't
one
care.
time.
I'm too tired.
Give us a race ranking from the weekend.
Oh, see, I went the full 10 last week.
You did?
I did. And I'm all right with that. I think I'll go a 9. Just because we didn't see... Oh, we did see a pass for the lead, didn't we? But it was into turn 1. No, I'll go a 9.
I'm with you.
Just because of the awkwardness that was the finale.
No, I'm with you. A 9 is fine. Incredibly entertaining race. There was plenty to follow along with.
And probably from about 30 to 70 was where the entertainment was had. You would definitely say that the early
but it was a setup. But it was a setup. Yeah. That was the setup. McLaren looking good. Yep. Oscar's looking really good. Can they maintain this? And that was my question going through my mind the whole time. This is very good for Oscar, but can he maintain it? This is time management territory in those laps. And it was interesting. I was also incredibly pissed off in those stages, in the early stages of the race, because of a certain strategy for a certain Daniel Ricciardo, which we'll get to.
You know, that really went under my radar.
Did it really?
I wasn't paying attention to that at any stage.
Oh, see, it ruined my race more than the Lando. I didn't mind the Lando thing.
Right, okay.
I can understand where everyone's coming from this point of view, but the Ricciardo thing did my head in. But a 9 is the right answer for me as well. Yep. There's an Australian win. The race was probably an 8, 7.5 to an 8, but the Australian wins.
Yep.
But yes, an overtake for the win late in the race gets you the 10 points with me. Just 9.5. I don't know if I'll give 10, but 9.5.
Okay.
That's pretty much where I'm at. Tell me, who has the pace? I want an order now.
Oh, okay.
I want a top 4 order.
Do you want teams? Do you want drivers?
Teams. Always teams.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. McLaren.
McLaren are now the clubhouse leaders for
everything.
Who has the pace?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
So it's McLaren, and then it's Mercedes.
Yes.
Then it's Red Bull.
Right.
Then it's Ferrari.
Okay. So, are you going...
Oh.
I don't even know where that noise came from.
I don't know.
My apologies. Did I bump that? Are you going off a Max Verstappen Red Bull, or is a whole team Red Bull with that statement?
I think it's a whole team Red Bull being third.
Okay, let's go Max Verstappen Red Bull.
Well, then second.
Second fastest.
Yep.
I think that's right.
Thank you.
But, gosh, it's a good season to be part of, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's nice to see McLaren be the fastest and actually show that they're the fastest. So there's a couple of McLarens. There's a McLaren has probably been the fastest for the last 4 weeks.
Yep. But
they actually showed us that they're now the fastest car.
Yep.
It was really great to see them come out and show what they're capable of. It was the most compelling victory we've seen. It was the most dominant performance we've seen from McLaren so far.
Yep.
And I thought that was great to see. But they're certainly not leaps and bounds ahead. I think it is a matter of some weather conditions might bring some cars back to them. But they do seem to have now the all-rounder, which is never been the McLaren thing. It's always been if conditions are right, they can compete with the best.
Yep.
However, now it's, yes, we've got an all-rounder. We're now faster in the medium corners. We're faster in the slow corners.
Yep.
We've got decent straight line speed, which is going to allow us to overtake.
Yeah.
And now we're going to bring the package. And for the first time, I thought they got their strategy actually perfect, which is a bit of a big statement to make.
It's really starting to mirror 09 season. A lot of people have talked about 2012 because we've had 7 race winners now.
Yep.
And that was very much like what we had 12 with the multiple race winners. But in 09, when Braun got off to that blistering start, and if you look at the first, they won 6 of the first 7, I think they were. Red Bull won China. But then from that point on, when we got to Silverstone, Red Bull came home with a charge and almost got them.
Yep.
But that, Jensen and Rubens and Braun, they did the heavy lifting early and had that buffer and got home at the end. And this is starting to become a mirror of that. Having said that, Lando's still a fair way away. Like, he's going to have to...
And this is the first time in a long time that he's gained points on the championship.
And mathematically, I read this over the weekend, mathematically he has to win every race from this point in, and Max has to finish second for him to win the title by a single point.
Oh, really?
If they both...
If that result was to come,
that's got to happen from Spa. So from Spa to season's end, Lando
they're already
win,
at that point.
And Max has got to be second.
Yep, so 7-point deficit.
Yep.
And I don't know where that would leave him with fastest laps, but 7-point deficit in each race.
Yeah, I'm not sure where fastest lap gets into it.
Yeah, it's unlikely to happen. We're looking for some DNFs from Max, and we're looking for Oscar Piastri to get involved in that competition.
That's right.
And the Mercedes. I mean, it hasn't been out of the question that Max is actually the 5th fastest car.
Yeah. Out
there. It's just McLaren haven't quite nailed it properly. Mercedes haven't quite nailed it properly. But I don't expect that to continue out throughout the rest of the season. They're just too close. We're going to see those things coming into play. So it's exciting racing, isn't it?
It is really
wonderful.
Good. It's wonderful. It's a red hot season.
All right, I got another question for you. Even though I've got so much to get through, I love this question. I can't remember where I saw it.
Yep.
Rightio. So you're a driver talent manager.
Yep.
And you've got the best talent in the world. And he has his pick of any team for the next 2 years.
Yeah, okay.
So the rest of this season is going to step in for the rest of this season.
Yep.
And for the next 2 years.
Yep.
Which brings us to the last year of these regulations.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then the first year of the next regulations.
Yep.
Where are you putting... What is the best drive from this point on for the next 2.5 years?
From this point now?
From this point now for the next 2.5 years.
I think it's probably Mercedes.
You go to Mercedes.
Yep, I do.
That's the hottest ticket in town.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Because if you go to McLaren, we can still see off track, they're rusty. Their genuine pace is red hot.
Is genuine at the moment.
But then if you look the other way with Mercedes have got great pace. They've probably still got upside to come. But off track, they're rock solid.
It hasn't been that long since they've been the champions.
And they've been there before for a very long time. So when you're thinking about that, for me, that's why I'll probably go to
Why isn't
Mercedes.
it Red Bull?
It's not Red Bull because of the politics that are happening behind the scenes. You don't want to be part of that. And it's not Ferrari because sometimes you don't really know what you're going to get. Look at Charles, for example. He leaves his home race in Monaco riding the highest of waves. And then right now, if he bought a lottery ticket, he'd probably end up in debt.
I asked you a lot of questions on this podcast over the years. I reckon that's nearly the best answer you've given me.
Thank you.
In a long, long time.
Thank you. That's
I think
good.
You've nailed it. I think probably the other element which is on the Mercedes side is you've got that works engine going into your car.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. I mean, by all reports, they're very comfortable with where that's at.
Yeah.
And I think that also helps. Whereas McLaren is going to be a customer.
Yep.
Well, it's not supposed to be this way. Sometimes you don't quite get the best of it all.
That's right.
And Red Bull are developing their own engines, but they haven't developed their own from scratch yet.
Yep.
And so there's an unknown around there.
Alpine are going to be customers too.
Could be, yeah. It's interesting. So yeah, I think Mercedes is the team to be in. But gosh, it's good to be in Formula One at the moment, isn't it?
Yep.
Race weekend, head off to Hungary. It's a fascinating little racetrack, Hungary, isn't it?
Isn't it
compact?
beautiful?
But
Isn't
there's
it
so much to it, and it's not straightforward. It's not like anything else. Probably if you are to think about a racetrack, which it is a bit like, you'd almost say it's Barcelona-like. However, it's got more to it. It's got more interest to it, hasn't it?
It's a mini Red Bull ring for me.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Do you think
there's a lot of little straights on the Red Bull?
Question without notice: do you think we can bring the fans closer to the track? Because that's just there's so much space.
Yeah,
watch a highlight over the weekend. Like watch the highlight again over the week, and just watch like how much room there is from the fence to the from the fence to the actual track.
I don't know what that noise is.
You're having a technical day today, aren't you?
I am. Oh, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know where that noise has come from. We're not needing a new cable in our future. Unless it's yours. Give yours a little wiggle at the microphone. Oh, there it is. Found it. Don't touch it. So yeah, I don't know. The walls are pretty close in some areas.
Yeah,
but are the walls? I'm thinking about it. I can't really picture the grandstands. The walls are pretty close to the track in lots of situations, which makes this track extra good because it's not just you've got lots of space, you can run off and you can make it all work for you.
Yeah.
It's there is a consequence if you get it wrong, which you saw a couple of times over the weekend. But behind the walls, are the grandstands right up near the walls or not? Is that what you're getting at? Right. Okay.
There's lots of space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So great little racetrack, pretty. It's I am a big fan of it.
Yep.
The overtaking is one of those tracks where I feel like this should be the bare minimum for overtaking abilities other than Monaco.
Yep.
Monaco gets away with it.
Yep.
But I think everything else needs to be like, this is the minimum standard for overtaking because it's not easy, but it's not impossible. And I like that about a racetrack.
Yes, that's fair.
I think that's like racetracks that it's easy to overtake certainly have their place. But yeah, you don't want to be making it impossible. I think it's a good adjustment. And yeah, I didn't realise, but they'd extended the straight about 20 years ago.
Yes.
And it made all the difference. So yeah, we saw Lando Norris take pole position by, what was it, 200s? No, 200s was it? Right, 200s off Oscar Piastri.
Yes.
Both drivers really nailed that lap, and if you look at the comparison side by sides, it was really fascinating to watch that, and as you'd expect, one was ahead of the other, and then it changed, and it changed, and it changed, but no one was ever far away.
Yeah. And
yeah, it was an interesting and fascinating little comparison. But there were some differences. It wasn't like it was an identical lap by any stretch of imagination.
No, not at all.
But yeah, it was a good little qualifying session. Once again, Max pulled something out of the bag. Didn't quite look like he was going to be able to. But yeah, it was good and set us up for a strong race. Having those two drivers in that position for the first time in a long time really cost Red Bull, didn't it?
Absolutely.
We saw Red Bull struggle big time.
We've been saying it for a good month, I reckon now, that they need a second car in the fight. And, gee, the queue...
No, look, this was a race to split some strategy, to put some pressure on those front runners.
To be dropped in Q3.
And you can't split a strategy.
To put it in the wall.
Yep.
To put it in the wall, then to end up missing out. And for Dan to go fastest... If you could think of a combination of three things that Perez did not need to happen across a weekend, that was literally the order it needed to have. It was bang, bang, bang.
Yep. No, so it was, it's a good little qualifying session.
Did you know the last five pole positions that Lando Norris has got, he's been beaten into turn one on all 5 occasions.
There you go.
All 5.
I think the last 4 Hungarian Grand Prix, the pole getter hasn't managed to win the race.
You do not want to be on pole. It's exactly like Brazil. You do not want to be on pole. You want to be second.
Yeah. But good luck trying to manufacture that in a qualifying session. So you just got to go for it and you just got to deal with it, don't you, come race time.
Absolutely.
There has been plenty of pole winners, get it. Then moving into the race, Oscar managed to pip Norris into the first corner. Great start from Oscar.
Heavily squeezed. And we've seen this for a while with Oscar.
Oh, yes.
Elbows out.
Yeah.
Not willing to move.
Yep.
But, wow, he hung it in there.
Yep.
He had a decision to lift and make room, or just stick it out. And he planted that foot and the elbows were out. And it wasn't so much the move into turn one. It was that split-second decision to stay on it that really, really set it up for him in turn one.
I heard a few people say that, it's nice to see him get his elbows out. We haven't seen that from him yet. And I disagree with that. We hadn't.
We've seen it the past month.
The last month is where we've really started to see it, which has been great. And so, it paid off big time because that set him up. And then the big question from there is, can he manage his tyres to make sure that he builds a lead? And he did that just beautifully.
He did a very good job with that.
Race ticks away, and as we know about the Hungarian Grand Prix, the undercut is nearly the strongest of anywhere in the world.
Very powerful.
Very powerful undercut, which means if you're coming in first, you get those fresher tyres and you make the difference because the exit's really fantastic and it just works out. Everything works out really nicely for it. And so we saw that the undercut being the powerful force that it is, we saw lots of cars coming in early, which is where Dan Ricciardo come undone. And then we saw the front runners start to radio. Let's start to look at it. And so they were forced to cover. They built a gap, but then they were forced to cover the Mercedes, the Ferraris, because they had made some moves, and they decided that because Norris is closer to the competition, they'd built a gap because he's close to competition. Let's bring him in first. We'll protect that. Piastri's still ahead. It's all good. Didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. Thoughts?
Furious. It really highlighted to me that Lando was the favourite driver. I'm not going to say number one, but the favourite driver across the weekend. That the big burning question for me was if those roles are reversed, if 81 is trailing 4, Oscar's not coming in first, is he? We saw that last week. He's not coming in first.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way.
That was my instant first thought, is that he was out front. We know that 99% of the time, car in front gets first service.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yeah. That's a general rule.
Yeah. But if you flip that around, and I tell you what, we'll see this. Let's say we see this next week in Spa. If Oscar is trailing Lando, Oscar is not getting first pit, because we saw that last week, that Oscar was left out, and they could have double stacked, and they didn't. They prioritised car in front, and for some reason this weekend, we chose to not prioritise the car in front, when every other time, if you go back and look, every other time they've prioritised car in front.
Did it pay off for him?
No, not at all.
So the first stop paid dividends. They kept their 1-2 lead after the pit stop shook out.
They were keeping that lead over Lewis regardless.
Yeah, but if there was a problem in a pit stop, it allowed for it to happen. And so, it shook out fine. I thought they made the right move. They're looking for a 1-2. I agree. I hadn't considered if it was roles reverse, would they be willing to take that extra step for Oscar? Not sure. But I mean, hindsight's hard to say. I'm with you. It's a question that needs to be thought about. However, they did it. It shook out nicely. Oscar kept his lead in the first one. They kept the 1-2, which is the protection for Oscar as well, which worked out fine. Mm-hmm. Play on. The world worked fine.
No.
They went and built some more lead, went into the rest of the race, and then they pulled off the same manoeuvre. Now, the second time was a bit different because then they left Oscar out for just an extra lap, didn't they? They leave him out for a couple of extra?
No, he came in the next one.
Well, that's what I thought, but someone else was like, no, he's definitely done two.
No,
yeah,
he didn't.
Anyway, so it didn't work quite the same way, and the reason for that was, which the only knock on Oscar for the whole race is he had a little moment before these pit stops. He'd built a 6-second lap lead. He lost 4 of them, only took a 2-second lead into these next set of pit stops. And it meant that Norris's undercut was going to be strong enough to get him into the lead. The pit stop was slightly slower, which didn't help the situation. And so they came back out, but they still came out in the 1-2 situation. And once again, did it definitely need to happen? Probably not. However, it worked. And I've been critical of McLaren in the last few weeks of their strategy. I like the fact that they've actually pulled it off. They've pulled off the big boy strategy for making a 1-2 work for their team. They didn't necessarily have to do it, but they trusted their systems to make it happen. And you know what? They worked their asses off to fix that problem once that problem arose afterwards. Now, the only thing that would have bit them in the arse is if there had been a safety car or there had been an issue. And then all of a sudden they're up Poop Creek. They're up that spot where you don't want to be because all of a sudden you can't manufacture what you need to manufacture. That was you again. Oh, I need a new cord fuels. Remind me after this episode's finished. But yeah, so look, to be honest, I didn't hate it. I thought it was... in saying that, I hated it. Roger Byron inside was burning up. I was fuming. All I wanted to see was Oscar win all the way to the lead. He deserved every part of that. But McLaren put their big boy pants on for a second and won the race in a 1-2, and they did it in the most sure fashion possible. I like that.
Right.
Thoughts?
Couldn't disagree with you more.
Yeah, well, you could be wrong then.
No, I don't know about that. I guess back to that first point I made. If Oscar's trailing Lando, they're not prioritising Oscar. They're securing the win in that situation. That they're looking, Lando is out front, we're securing Lando's win.
I'm not,
I honestly believe that's what's going to happen. The second thing with that is...
But you can't cook them on something that you think would happen.
But this is where it frustrates me because, again, we'll see evidence of this. I guarantee if we're at Spa, I guarantee if Oscar's trailing, they will not box Oscar first. Haven't seen it all year.
In this situation, it was all possible. Like, if everything worked out fine, it was going to be fine.
So, Lando was well in front of Lewis. And then
Are we talking second pit stop? Because that's the one that did it in.
This is the one that did it in. He was in front of him and would have maintained that lead in second. And then being on the fresh rubber with the 4 or 5 extra laps, he would have moved away from him anyway. The long run pace from the McLaren was 0.03 of a second faster on that same compound as it was Mercedes that was shown in the practice session. So there was plenty of evidence and data to suggest that they'll run away with it. And they had the gap that was already there. So Lewis, based on that knowledge, was never going to jump P2. He was never going to do that. So that's the second point to it as well. The third point is, which goes on to this radio chatter and this to and fro and this awkwardness and suddenly what really seemed to be panic and distrust amongst one another is what I got out of that. Is that all of that was caused because of that move. And then we had to then manufacture, in a way, Oscar coming past again for the lead. And then, on top of that, it's compounded the commentary that, well, Lando was stripped of a win. I think that would have sat better with most people had Oscar have had first service and Lando had second. And then if Lando had just on his own passed Oscar for the lead, then fair play. And play on for that.
100%.
Because they're allowed to race.
100%.
And so all of that could have happened, but what it boils down to is that Lando should never have got priority pit in the first place. And then this narrative that's around the weekend, and that sudden airing of just... It was amateur on the radio, to be quite honest. Like, it was panic mode. You could tell within what was said, the way it was said, the constant back and forth, the radio silence from Lando as well, that there was panic and there was angst and there was sudden insecurity and distrust amongst each other as to, is this actually going to happen? Like, are we ready for this? Like, and again, it showed a different element.
See, Lando agreed with you. Yeah. They shouldn't have done it the way they did.
No, but then...
And I appreciate that part too.
But the silence on the radio, and then it highlighted another area of off-track. We saw last week where they got it wrong with tyre, where off-track, they had the knowledge to put the medium on, but didn't for whatever reason. And this week highlighted, I guess, a little bit of a chink in the armour as to... Do our drivers trust what we do suddenly? It just highlighted another off-track area that maybe they're not ready. Like, they're just not ready for this.
See, you couldn't be more wrong. They nailed it. They got the right result.
No.
They nailed everything. They got the right result. The only thing, I mean, the fact that Oscar had got it back to 2 seconds, I thought, you know what? Maybe because it's back to 2 seconds, they might send him.
It ended up being 6 by the time they passed. He was gapping him. He was just running away with it.
But so because it came back to 2 before the last pit stop, I thought, maybe they'll bring him in this time around. But they didn't need to. So it just they made it all work. I agree. The radio chatter.
They made it work, but they made it work in the wrong way.
Yeah. I look, and only because of this radio chatter business.
No, see, for me, it's the first service that caused it all.
That was so embarrassing. It took away from a 1-2. Everyone should be talking about McLaren's nailed it. They've finally got it right. Yep. And once it was back to 2 seconds is the only reason why I think that Oscar probably should have been given first service. But let's just be as safe as possible. Let's just nail this one, and we'll make it all happen nice and quickly. We'll give it the biggest benefit as possible. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the race. Is Hamilton going to be really quick? Is Max going to be really quick? We've got to make this happen. We've got to fix it all and make it happen real quick. And I didn't mind it. It's just they took the shine off it with what Lando was saying. And Lando took the shine off the win for the team. He embarrassed the team big time this time round. But I also understand that he is a pig-headed Formula 1 driver that is absolutely wanting to do the best for himself, number one, and then the team, which is 100% fine because that's the way they're wired, and that's why they're so bloody good.
Does one race win rub you the wrong way with the sudden change in attitude?
No, Lando understood everything fine after it. It's just in the heat of the moment. Even once he let the overtake happen, I think he'd sort of come to that realisation. And it was really interesting listening to the way that they had to try and put it on.
It was a long moment, though. You say heat of the moment, but it wasn't 1 or 2 laps.
But I can understand that.
15 laps.
I can understand that. These guys are wired differently. They're the best in the world. Tell you the one person who isn't wired differently. Well, he's different in a different way. Oscar Piastri. I loved Stella's comments where he's the youngest member of our team, but he's also the wisest. And I love that comment because it is so true on him. And the most honest interview I've heard from him yet is with Ted Kravitz in the notebook where at the celebration after the champagne and the picture, he had a little chat with Ted and I was like, that is the Oscar Piastri. We heard him speak properly, relaxed. It was interesting that Mark Webber wasn't there. But yeah, it was a touch more relaxed. It was just like, yep, I've done it. I'm happy. It was nerve-wracking, but it was great. And it was, but no, look, I can't fault them because I've faulted them on strategy before, and they did the absolute right thing for that team to get a 1-2. And even though it took a shine off, even though it made things a bit awkward, they ended up making it work fine. And so, I say fair play to them, and I understand where Norris is coming from because that is exactly what those drivers are supposed to do.
Do you think the sort of team culture, which is very much consultation based, is the best way to describe it? We've seen it before where it's let's discuss and make a joint decision together about strategy or tyres or what we're going to do. It felt a little bit like that. It was like we're consulting with you. Remember every Sunday morning's briefings. Yeah. If you want a world title, you need the team, you need Oscar. Let's talk about why it is. But then if you put that on the flip side, you look at James Vowles and his Mercedes time, and it was Valtteri move.
Yep.
If you look at even JP at Red Bull, but even it's that
they weren't talking to Lewis. They were talking to Valtteri.
No, but it's that.
But it's a different mentality.
It's that move.
You're talking to. They weren't talking to Lewis.
No,
they wouldn't speak to Lewis that way.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's the team culture is what I'm referring to. Is that a decision needs to be made. I'm not going to chat to you about it and see how you feel about it. Move. I'm the boss. You're driving. I'm telling you right now, get out of the way. The famous quote of like Kimi when he's told to get out of the way at Lotus. It's exactly the same thing. It's McLaren have a different way of going about it, and I'm not quite sure.
You sound like Nico Rosberg
but I'm not quite sure it works.
Yeah. Nico, look, I agree. I agree with that.
It's a very useful culture that they have there, which is great. But this sort of consultation, they're in togetherness. There's a time and place.
They're in a different world though because they have got two very, very good drivers, which are both just as likely to be world champions.
But you can still have that. You can still have
Yeah,
that. And
so-
I half expected Stella to get on the radio and go.
He did well to hold
now,
off, didn't he?
Get out of the way.
He did well.
I felt
Yeah.
like that was what sort of needed to happen. It's a little bit of what happens at Ferrari too, and the fall away that Ferrari had over those times where Charles will ask a question and they're like, "Hang on, we're checking." No, don't check. Tell me what we're doing. And that's sort of the role of the...
Yeah, that was
the
Nico
pit box.
Rosberg's feedback was that.
I just feel like that...
So when Nico Rosberg, in all his awkwardness, he before he could ask a question, he wanted to give feedback, and that was his direct feedback straight away.
I feel like that there has to be a little bit of bravery to be okay with that, and that sometimes
it left the door open for Lando to do what he did, which Lando played it well. He had open air, he pushed his tyres, and he developed that lead and made it really difficult for Oscar, who was being told that it would be fixed. So it was really difficult for Oscar to close that gap because he was going by team rules on setting the times that they told him to set, so he wouldn't cook his tyres, whereas Lando was able to just push those boundaries a little bit more, and so he made it look like Oscar couldn't catch him. And that's the thing. Lots of people have said, Lando had the pace at the end. No, Oscar was following direction. It was a very Seb Webber moment where one person knew what they were doing and the other person was following instructions. And that was the part that made it look a bit embarrassing. I didn't like that part. But in saying that, I don't like it, but I can understand it. And that's what you have to be.
I think it will...
Tell me, would Hamilton move over? Would Hamilton have moved over?
He has.
Yes, he has.
He has.
Would he very often, do you think?
Yes.
Would Schumacher move over?
Schumacher wouldn't. But he has.
Would Max? No, Schumacher only has because he could.
Yeah, but he still has, though.
Yes, yeah. Would Max?
Max is the different... No. Max is the villain in that scenario.
Would Senna?
No.
Would Prost?
No.
Okay, so
would they do it after one race win and a handful of weeks where you're the top car? No.
No, even so, yeah. So it's just that mentality, isn't it?
He's done more damage in the long run. He's done
Lando.
I think.
I couldn't disagree more.
Unnecessary damage.
Couldn't disagree more because it was fixed. I imagine Zach Brown's going to be not overly pleased with him when he speaks to him.
I don't know that he will. I've thought about that.
There's a lot of sponsors that the team was embarrassed slightly, and it could have been an absolute celebration.
Yeah.
And no conversation. Whereas it soured it a little bit when they needed that absolute celebration because they haven't managed to nail it yet.
They haven't had the pure elation of the 1-2 or anything
and so they lost that ability. So I think they'll be a bit pissed off with Lando for that reason.
Yeah.
But other than that, hey, it is what it is. Let's keep moving. Right. Hamilton managed to pilot his Mercedes through to third position. Didn't start third.
Yeah, a man who 3 weeks ago said that he wasn't going to out-qualify George or out-race George. Well, he's done the exact opposite, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's not a very good fortune teller. Like he's a good driver.
He's kicking goals on and off the track, is Lewis, at the moment.
Yep.
I look at him, and suddenly what I'm seeing with Lewis is I'm seeing a Seb in the final 2 years at Aston.
He's less
relaxed.
weird. He's less weird, isn't he?
I'm relaxed.
Yep.
I'm alright.
Yep.
I'm not looking for conflict.
Seems to be a bit more accessible.
It's a little bit like Alonso last year.
Yep.
I'm happy. I'm chilled. I know the sun's setting.
Yep.
I'm just going to enjoy it. And I feel like we're getting a new version of Lewis right now. We're getting a end of life sort of.
Does help that car has improved.
And I think
out of sight. And maybe there's an element of 2 years ago when he was the one doing all the developing, making Russell look good because he was the one doing all the racing because that's what he needed to be doing in his career at that stage.
The last month, I reckon, we started to see, even when it was the comments around Lando and around Max, and that's got nothing to do with me. I'm not interested in that. It was kind of those moments where he's like, nah.
See, Russell was looking the better driver.
But then forgot to put enough fuel in?
Well, it wasn't on him, so...
Yikes.
So through qualifying, got caught out with the weather.
Yeah.
When they came back out, there was time to get some laps in. He came out. I was actually like, oh, they've nailed this because what's going to happen here is cold tyres. He's going to get a real nice warm-up. He's going to nail the track at the right time.
Yep.
and then come in. But no, they decided that they're going to do it all for whatever reason. Maybe they were wondering about some more rain coming. I could sort of understand that, but the evidence wasn't there for the more rain at that point. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't fueled enough to put in enough laps to make it all work, and got knocked out in qualifying. But he was the man that was looking fastest for the weekend out of the two drivers. And yeah, he worked his way through the field, did probably pretty well, I guess, in the end. But yeah, it wasn't quite enough, was it, for Russell. He finished. Where did he finish? He was in 8th, so not a bad recovery drive.
But not amazing either. I think it's just
but I don't. We used to see a recovery drive, no worries whatsoever, back of the grid to front of the grid. We don't see that anymore. Have you noticed that? Like the front runners who end up at the back of the grid, they don't work their way through, and that just shows how tight this field is. Tricky track to overtake, so that helps. But it is it's such a tight field this year.
Yep.
So anyway, that was Russell. Leclerc came home in 4th position. It was a sort of a bit
it was an anonymous drive,
which I think we've said this about the Ferrari boys a little bit lately,
but it was still very good.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. Are Ferrari going to be able to make some recovery before the end of the season?
I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it?
I don't know.
They're a real unknown.
I just don't know.
See, we don't say that often.
No, but it's
I'm with you 100% on this.
Like, we were nowhere, we were resurgent.
Like, you've got a bit of an understanding with teams usually.
Then we held our breath for the upgrades,
Yep.
and we gave them a week, and they were there, and then we won Monaco.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we didn't know what we were doing.
Yep.
And then now we're 4th.
Yep.
And then science looked all right, but then everyone else is in front of us now. So
see, you can nearly say you have a fair understanding of where every team's at for the rest of the season, couldn't you? Like RB, I think they're just going to continue in their phase of battling it out in that top of midfield.
Ferrari?
If we say Mercedes, they're now in the fight. If we say McLaren, they're on top. If you say Red Bull, they're going to be chipping away, and you expect them to make some improvements again and close that gap and make it even more competitive. Yeah. You say Aston Martin, and you'd say, well, they're going to be top of the rest, but they're not going to make that gain on the field. If you say Ferrari, and you're like, well, I don't know whether they're just going to sit here. I don't know whether they're going to find something and start being the fastest team again, because they were so close to being the fastest team only a few weeks ago, month and a half ago. Yeah. It wasn't that long, was it?
No, it wasn't. Ferrari are a bit like your drunk relative at a Christmas lunch that
here we go.
After 12 o'clock you're not quite sure what they're going to do.
Or what they're on about.
They're going to do something great or they're going to do something horrible, and at the end of the night, regardless of what happens, you're going to be mentioning them.
Yep, absolutely. Sainz came home in 6th. He'll be kicking himself that he wasn't pushing harder to make the most of the Verstappen mistake.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there, but I guess he wasn't.
Well, by that stage, they thought they were just cruising home. They thought they were in cruise mode. Righto, let's maintain positions, let's maintain tyres. We'll cruise home and we'll pick up the points. And it's going to be a neither here nor there race. But yeah, he didn't realise that there was going to be something on offer.
Yeah.
Let's talk Max. Thoughts on Max? Fairly solid race. He was putting him under a bit of pressure throughout the race.
Yeah.
Then managed to get himself in a bit of a battle. I think Mercedes, by memory, undercut them.
They did, yep.
In the last pit stop.
They did.
Which put the pressure on Max to make a move. He looked like he was in a faster car at that point in time.
What did you make of the move?
I'm torn on it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a legitimate racing move.
Yes, racing incident.
I thought it was a racing incident, and if he had taken Hamilton out, or if Hamilton had been damaged, or if Hamilton had have lost a position, a penalty is warranted.
You know what makes it a racing move for me?
But just let me finish. So
sure.
If any of those things happen, penalty is warranted.
Okay.
He copped the penalty. He already had that penalty come his way naturally, and so I understand where they're coming from in not penalising him. I don't like the comment that Hamilton had something to do with it. He could have avoided it. I hate that comment.
Didn't.
Yeah, there's nothing Hamilton
yes, there's
should have
another
been doing.
4 metres of track to the left, but it is not even remotely the racing line.
And it's not where the track's going. Like, it's not like they'd be turning the opposite direction to where you turn
off
the corner.
In that direction.
And so, so that really, really bugged me because I thought, just say it. Max copped the penalty naturally, and so we're not going to penalise him because it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what it was. Yeah, why was a racing incident?
Because it was the positioning of the Williams that allowed Max, and I can see exactly what he was doing as he comes down the inside. It's Lewis to the left, the Williams is there, and it's the opportunity to catch him napping while there is another car in play.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I think
he tried something, it didn't work,
but the opportunity was there to do
it. But he messed it up. He overshot the corner. He was out of control, and so for all those reasons, usually, absolutely should be a penalty applied. The penalty was applied naturally. I'm comfortable with that. Didn't cost Hamilton anything in the end. But if it had have, absolutely penalised him.
You know what? A metre to the right, and it's the pass of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, even half a metre. No, actually, no. He was never going to stop. Let's be honest.
But he just, it's there.
Yeah,
it's on and it's opportunistic, and he missed it, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it's hard because people are putting up all these comparisons. Oh, this is a penalty, but Max doesn't get this for a penalty. No. And I was like, it's so different.
When it's the same or similar, I could buy into that.
By absolute letter of the law, it should have been a penalty, but I like that they didn't. I thought, let's encourage racing. And so, that was fine for me. Perez did very Perez-y things over the weekend. Put it into the wall in qualifying. And which meant that he started the race. Where did he start the race?
Well, I think it was 17th. He ended up
16th. 16th he started the race. Brought it home into, I think it was 7th, which is not a bad recovery drive.
On a short circuit on the hard tyres,
he should be bloody good at recovery drives by now, shouldn't he? Because he is a recovery driver now. The man should be out. I'm not hearing the absolute. It's definitely going to happen.
I'm hearing that Spa is.
Do you think? Well, so the word on the street is, because no one really has seen the contract, but word on the street is that he must be within 100 points of Max by the mid-season break. Otherwise, the contract can be broken. And by the end of the year, he must be within 100 points of that. Otherwise, the contract can be broken. Which I like that for a contract clause for a driver, because they're fairly okay. Doesn't mean it will definitely have to be broken, but the team could choose to break that contract. It's time. It's time to make the change.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely it is time to make the change. He's not going to be able to bring down that gap. What are your thoughts? What are you showing me?
I'm just looking.
Bad podcasting.
I know.
We're not even talking about whatever that is.
I know, but I'm just like,
what
in the midst of our conversation, Alpine will be red.
Show me.
For the Belgian weekend. They've literally in the last hour.
Show me it.
Literally in the last hour, they are unveiling a Deadpool and Wolverine themed livery.
Oh,
so it will be red and it will be black with yellow Wolverine claws
I'm not even slightly interested.
I'm looking at this right now.
I'm not even slightly interested in that.
I've totally forgotten your question that you asked because I've been caught up in something amazing.
Is Perez going to be replaced?
Yes.
Mid-season?
Yes.
Who by?
By Dan.
I'm not interested anymore.
That's fantastic.
As soon as you told me Wolverine, I'm like, whatever.
That's fantastic. That's
whatever.
So good. I told you, the first 5 minutes of the episode gauges how we're going.
You're off. You're right. Good point. You're not going well.
That's good. Do you love that?
I can't really see it, but I don't like the fact that it's Wolverine based.
It's just a little bit of yellow claw at the back. Looks like a bit of a yellow. That's good.
So other teams will go back to some historical liveries.
Yep.
So McLaren have been through all these beautiful historical liveries. We've seen Red Bull go to some older liveries. We've seen Williams go to older liveries. We've seen Ferrari pretend that they're going to an old livery and then sort of not really. But this is what they're offering. They'll change a livery for something like that.
Boy, it's good.
Not interested. I bet you it looks good. I bet you it does look good.
It's good. I'm looking at it in closer detail now.
I'll look at it later. But anyway, can you stop talking about things to look at on a podcast? It doesn't work.
Sorry.
It's not the right medium. Anyway.
Checo will be replaced.
By Dan?
By Dan, if in Spa he is not on the podium.
Good point. Okay.
He must be on the podium. He must be on the podium.
If he is on the podium, they just stick it out?
Yes.
Because you don't make the change
after a podium.
Between two races,
That's
do you?
a slap in the face. If you're going to do it after a podium and you're not going to do it after a 16th,
then just do it before.
That just slaps it.
Do it before you have that opportunity.
Yep.
So Ricciardo comes in your opinion?
Yes.
Lawson steps into
No,
RB.
no,
Perez is
no.
going to RB.
Perez is going to RB. I don't hate Lawson. But again, if he's good enough, he's already there.
Tell me though, why would you put Perez in RB? For what purpose? He's never racing a Red Bull again if he gets dropped.
But an RB Perez is better than a Lawson Perez.
But you want to find out about Lawson.
No,
See, people are saying...
No, I don't.
Oh, see, I do.
No, I don't.
Why?
Because, again, if he's good enough, he's already got the drive.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way in Formula 1.
But it kind of does.
No, but it doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't.
But Ollie Behrman's good enough, and he's got the drive.
But he's not driving
Once
this year.
upon a time, Lando Norris was
But he's
good
not
enough.
driving this year.
No, he's driving next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Full
so let's
time.
find out about Lawson before you go and sign him on full time, because he's not racing categories at the moment because he's in that reserve driver.
Found out about Lawson though.
Yeah, and he was great.
So then, then that's my point. If he's good enough,
Because Dan was in that seat because they wanted to find out about Dan.
I just think
The whole Perez thing has completely ruined their driver understandings.
I would have a Perez and an RB over a Lawson.
For what point?
For the point that he's faster.
But he isn't.
Perez is faster than Lawson.
How do you know? Perez isn't faster than most of the drivers on the grid at the moment.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Lawson hater. But if he's good enough, he's already in.
But what's the point? What are you going to put Perez in there because he's might be a little bit faster?
Well, it's a straight swap for the season, isn't it?
But you're going to not employ him next year.
I'm not sacking Perez. I'm just moving.
Next
him
year,
down.
you're going to sack him.
No, I'm just keep moving him down. It's a straight swap.
So you're going to keep him in RB.
Yep.
For what purpose?
Yep. Just if we're keeping Dan.
Well, the whole purpose of Dan being there is back up for Perez because they don't trust Yuki Tsunoda in the big boy seat.
Yeah. So then, if we're
which is fine.
But if we're keeping Dan in RB as a senior driver,
but they're not going to go back to Perez.
I think they will.
Not in this situation.
I do.
Name me the time.
It has to be after Spa.
No, name me the time they've ever gone back to a driver other than Ricciardo, and that's because Ricciardo left them.
Well, that's
as a champ.
That's the outlier, isn't it?
Different.
Yeah.
Sainz might be the next one, but Sainz has left on his own accord.
Yep.
See, he ain't going back. So Perez is the reserve driver, and if he chooses not to participate in that activity, that's whatever it is. But Lawson, they just it's a free hit. Go and find out about Lawson. They've set the car up nicely with Ricciardo and Yuki developing it. And Lawson developing it, mind you.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he's probably even better set up to go and drive that car because he has been driving that car in the simulators all that time, whereas Perez is going to come in fresh. But yeah, it's it has to happen that way. After that, what have we got? We've got Mercedes, and it is Yuki Tsunoda. After all those drivers, Yuki Tsunoda came home in 9th, which should have said Daniel Ricciardo came home in 9th. Tsunoda drove fine, drove well, but got the strategy which was absolutely obvious for that team. They started on mediums. He drove it really well at the start, stuck it out, looked after the tyres really nicely, did Yuki, and then they did their pit stops in the order that should have all happened. They didn't panic with Yuki when all the soft drivers came in for those changes to cover the undercut. And then, anyway, the rest is history. So, Yuki did really well, but, it was what you'd expect of him, but did really well to look after those tyres. Then we had Ricciardo, who was in a different situation.
Which was just the worst. It was the work experience scenario again, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was very much we're going to panic in this moment, and we're going to pit our fastest driver into a really suboptimal strategy, which just makes no sense whatsoever. What was the point in going on a medium and not a soft if you're going to react that way?
This is what Mackey's did at Ferrari.
Yeah.
This is why he's not at Ferrari. So he's bringing his capabilities, for a better word, to RB.
Why?
And he's now doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah. If you're going to panic in this method, why on earth would you have any other strategy?
I've never seen Dan post-race angry. And he was angry. Yeah, and he had every right to be.
And he said it was the worst strategy decision that he's had in his career. And
I
couldn't agree more.
For a man that was topped Q1, who was on it all weekend, and he was 6th in one of the practice sessions, I think it was, and just was looking well and truly the lead car. Again, it just highlights just this constant commentary around that he's not good enough. No, he is good enough. But right now the car is not being set up
I
well,
couldn't agree more.
and the team is falling down around him.
That's
So
the thing.
no.
Ricciardo did his trial in a Red Bull and showed that he could do those times in a Red Bull, match Perez within 5 minutes in a Red Bull.
Yep.
And it was, if you give him the right materials, you give him the right people around him, he's going to be able to perform a whole lot better in that car. But yeah, it's just so frustrating for what should have been a really positive race weekend for him.
It wasn't.
The benefit is that Red Bull are going to have all that information, so hopefully it shouldn't go against him. Great recovery drive, I must say. The second pit stop, they woke up and smelled the roses. We're like, hang on, everyone's bound to pit in a minute. Let's do that, and we'll take that track position. But yeah, it was just all far too late. But finishing 12th, not a bad recovery drive, considering that he was running around in 17th at one stage.
Very true.
How do you pit the man twice before Sonoda? How does that strategy ever work out when you start on the same tyres?
Again, like Mackey's was doing this Ferrari.
Fucking moron. I was upset. Stroll managed to beat your man, Alonso.
Oh, okay.
Anything to say?
No.
Fair enough. You want to talk about anyone else?
You know what? To be quite honest, there's really no one else of note to talk about, is there?
No, there was enough for us to focus on.
There was plenty to go on. But at the end of the day, we're celebrating Oscar's win. And that's all that matters.
Aussie Oscar Piastri.
That's all
well
that matters,
done,
hey?
my boy. Well done, my boy. There you go. How good. Let's hear about your driver ratings. Thanks to All Science, the 3, 2 and 1 driver of the year. Now, I've got some positive news on this.
Have you?
You know how I've realised that if we're going
negative
to start adding everyone else's points into this driver's rating thing,
Now,
we're
hang
going
on.
to have to go back
Hang on,
and-
don't drag me into this.
and fill.
You said we,
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yep.
So you know how I've realised that I have to go back and fill, otherwise there's going to be a really skewed season results.
I wonder who mentioned that, yes?
You didn't actually notice that. You didn't notice that. But
You're
anyway, I've had some good news.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
What's your good news?
You know our friend Sam?
Yep.
He's gone and done it for me.
Oh, that's
Isn't that wonderful?
so
Useful.
That's so poor.
Yeah, because
That's
you wanted
so
me to have to do
poor.
that, didn't
That's
you?
so poor that you have
I actually got started on it, and then Sam sends me this message saying, hey, guess what? And he's sent it through to me now. He hasn't got our ratings on it, so I've got to add our ratings on it, which is really rude of him. But, yeah, so I'll add our ratings onto it, and then it's all going to be up to date. We're going to be flying.
I can't believe you've
Sam's a stats man. He loves it.
you've outsourced something as simple as
Sam is a stats man. He
adding
loves
points together.
it. And I appreciate you,
That's
Sam.
atrocious.
I appreciate you big
That's
time.
embarrassing.
So, yeah, so we're going to be up to date within a week. It's good.
We.
Yeah,
We, like you've sort of...
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Beyond the Racing Line's a team effort. You might notice I've been carrying you all this time.
Have you?
Yeah, my shoulders are sore.
Oh,
3, 2 and 1. Go on, hit me up. Oscar number
Piastri,
3.
Oscar Piastri 3.
You're welcome.
Oscar Piastri 3.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm going
Yep.
3-2, so 6 points from us.
Yep, 2 to Lewis.
2 to Lewis.
2 to Lewis.
Okay.
Yep.
2.
And even though he was torched by his own team, I'm giving 1 to Dan.
Oh, really?
Yes,
See,
I
I'm
really am.
going all Aussie, and I'm going 3 to Oscar.
Okay.
2 to Ricciardo. Because I'm feeling biased today.
Okay.
So, yeah,
It is.
3 points in total. And then 1 point. 1 point. Yeah, look, I'm happy with a Hamilton 1 point. So,
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of agreement going on from us, isn't it? Dud of the day. Dud of the day.
Oh, man.
Who have you got?
Dud of the day. Dud of the day. Dud of the day goes to... Dud of the day goes to our Gen Zers. Our Gen Zers who run social media platforms on the likes of Instagram and TikTok, who, I guess really, even though it's their job as social media people, just baited the comments around fans wanting to buy into was Norris in the right or was Norris in the wrong to do what he did, and I just thought it added to the hysteria of what was really a poor decision from the team. So, and I think it was just that sort of those clickbait warriors that really turned me off on Monday morning, even though I was in a bad mood as it was, even though we celebrated Oscar. So I just thought it was poor. It was just poor. It was the constant commentary from those that are just looking, was Lando robbed? Did Lando do the right thing? Well, how about we flip the narrative and be like, should McLaren have pitted Lando first? And congratulations, Oscar. So yeah, no, I didn't like it. It left a sour taste in my mouth, and it just showed just a little bit of
Non-understanding.
just tabloid
Yeah, there's a bit
It was
of
just, yeah,
lack of understanding around
yeah, it
Formula
was
1.
just, I've heard this,
Yep.
I'm going to quickly throw it out. No, it was yuck.
Yep.
It was yuck, so I didn't feel it. So,
Yep.
yeah, they're
Yep.
my duds.
I'm going to give a special mention to Mohammed Ben Sayed.
Oh, please.
He has managed to park himself in Parc Ferme.
I love that. Please leave.
And there is no... So, once... For those people who don't know where we're talking about, once the team, the 3, 2 and 1 is finished, they go into the special area, boxed off, the teams get around and celebrate. And they get out of the cars and they go and do their thing. Okay, the last couple of weeks, for what... I know exactly why. It's for political standings, because he's trying to gain back some support from drivers, gain support from the crowd, make himself seem like that FIA and Formula One are working well together, and so he's parked himself in there, and he wants to have these conversations with drivers just as they get out. Every driver I've found so far is ignoring him and trying to move away from him as quick as possible.
He looks like an 8-year-old trying to pass lollies in the bike racks at school.
Yep. Can you be my friend?
Yeah, hey,
be my friend.
Hey, I got sherbet. Do you want some?
He wants to have a little chat with them.
Yeah, hey, come here.
Yep.
Come here, look what I've got.
It
looks
is.
like he's doing a drug deal.
But he only gets a special mention. Because I'm surprised on you on this one. I thought this was going to be your number one.
No, well, I've
stewards.
noticed it, but yeah.
No.
Oh, the
stewards. So, in qualifying, we see Yuki Tsunoda, which actually didn't mention, but goes to show why you know why Red Bull aren't wanting to promote Yuki Tsunoda, even though he's driven so beautifully this year.
Why is that?
Because he's so got Yuki Tsunoda in him still. And it's just that ability to crash. He went wide in a qualifying a few weeks ago, and it just would have ruined everything for them. And then he had the big crash. He's had a couple little crashes here and there. He just hasn't quite got that trustworthiness. It's so close for Yuki. It is so close for Yuki, but yeah. But anyway, so when Yuki Tsunoda crashed, it left 2 minutes and 16 seconds on the clock or something like that. And so what happened was the team's red flag was thrown straight away. Alonso was pissed off with that to start with because he was on a lap and he didn't think it needed to be thrown so quickly. And there's a little bit to that, but you got to understand those people behind you. A double wave yellow, people aren't paying enough attention to. So everyone backs out big time when it's a red. But I do feel for those who could complete their lap without being in any danger of being in that incident. I wonder whether there's another flag to be thrown or drivers behind. Anyway, it is what it is. That's racing. So Alonso wasn't able to complete his lap. And even though lots of the cars had come into the pits, the last couple were still out there. I think it was Hülkenberg and Alonso was still out on track. And for whatever reasons, the stewards decided that, they're not going to be able to continue on with qualifying. So they put out the cones and ushered them into a Parc Ferme condition.
Yep.
And to the point where Alonso even got out of the car, and Hülkenberg, I think it was, he stayed in the car because his team were onto it.
Yeah.
Alonso actually got out of the car, and by that stage, things have sort of, with a Formula One car, you're not getting in and out of the car, particularly in a pit lane, particularly when it's not in your garage. It's just not something that should be done. There's procedures that need to be in place, and so they've pulled him in, and then the qualifying session's been able to continue, and Alonso have been ultimately removed from the qualifying session. Now, we know that no one really improved other than Dan, who messed up his first lap anyway. But yeah, it ultimately probably didn't matter too much, but it was such a rookie error. We don't see big errors like that from him too often, but it was a rookie error. And now, is there another element to this?
There's another element to this which just popped up recently in news feeds of, quality. Now that I've been bagging those that just like to do sort of...
Yeah.
Like...
I'm with you.
TikToks and stuff.
You're going to be done of the week.
Yeah, probably. But not only did Fernando be directed into the Parc Ferme lot, he was actually directed into the paddock opposite Parc Ferme, which was holding the Apex GP cars. So not only was he told that qualifying's finished when it's not finished, not only was he escorted to Parc Ferme, which he wasn't escorted to Parc Ferme, but he ended up parking himself in the holding station of the pretend Parc Ferme, which was housing Apex GP while they were filming.
So, do you think
content for scenes?
Do you think this was that was supposed to happen anyway.
No, I don't think no.
Do you because they've how they've inserted Brad Pitt into the bull ring and things like that?
No, because there's no cameraman. The car is just sitting.
Oh, okay.
And there's no one there. It's a dead scene. There's dead space there.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, we don't see the great man hot under the collar like that, but oh boy.
He threw a jacket.
There's a fan video. He threw a jacket. He threw a hat. He pointed at an official, and I'll tell you what, that's poor.
It's fair enough. They don't make big mistakes very often.
Did you just say stewards don't make big mistakes?
No. Those guys down there don't make the big mistakes very often. So they do. I'm always impressed with they know what they're doing. But they muck that one up big time. Gosh, we're an hour and 4 in. We better keep moving.
Okay.
F1.5.
F1.5, the absolute greatest championship in the world. Excuse me, I'm recovering my voice. It's that bath cappuccino.
Not good for you.
Not good for you. All right, last time out, we had leaders that looked a little bit like this. Hulk was in first place. Yuki Tsunoda was coming fast in second place.
Yep.
And it was Kevin Magnussen hanging on to third.
I remember.
The three at the top haven't changed.
But Yuki's ahead.
But has the order changed?
Yes, Yuki's ahead.
Okay, let's go bottom to top as always. It's tightened once again. All right, in 10th place, Logan Sargent. 57 points, yeah?
Yep.
Following on from there, Valtteri with an 8-point weekend on 77. It's his race number.
Oh.
Do you know that?
There you go.
There you go. Zhou.
Wonder if he knows this.
I think he does. Zhou is coming in hot and fast next. I say hot and fast, but 91 points, so will eventually crack. Excuse me. Will eventually crack the ton. Then after that, we're looking a little bit further down, and we've got Gasly. A poor fortnight from Gasly.
Yeah, it has been, actually.
2 points across 2 weekends after coming off a 15 and 18, a 25 and a 12, and then he's forgotten to turn up. I think he started the summer break early. So 123 for Pierre Gasly. Then we've got Ocon. Again, a poor one from Ocon, coming off 15, 18, 10, and he's gone 4 and 4. So again, not great. 131. Then we've got, well, have we? Kevin Magnussen. 143.
Okay.
So guess what that means?
Means what? Hulkenberg and...
Means Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh,
He's
sorry. I'm with you.
Snuck in.
I'm with you.
Daniel Ricciardo
okay.
has snuck in. And he's in third place.
There you go.
On 145
so
points.
Where did Magnussen finish?
So Magnussen finished...
I'll have a look. You keep going.
Magnussen finished just outside of the podium on 10.
15th. Oh, 15th, okay.
Yep. So 143. And then we've got coming home in second place, Yuki Tsunoda on 203. And Nico Hulkenberg just hanging on.
Oh, okay. I was expecting a bit of a change.
Hanging on.
Okay.
221 points, yeah. Honourable mention to Alex Albon, 121.
How far away is Ricciardo from the other two?
Well, if Dan's on... What's Dan? On 145. And then we've got 203 and 221.
Oh, okay.
He's still a sizable distance.
Yeah, that's a big difference, but yep. Okay.
But he's coming.
Interesting.
There you go.
Very good. Excellent. The greatest championship getting around. F1.5. Fantasy is... Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see where everyone's
Are you
at.
interested in fantasy this week?
Well, I think so, because I've moved up 2 positions. So
Have you? That's good.
Let's talk.
Thanks to Chris at Dr. Auto Art. I wonder how Chris is feeling this week. We should have had him on this week, because we had all things Silverstone last week.
Oh, that's true.
And then we could have had a little bit of
That's true.
bit of Australian flavour. But thanks to Chris at Dr. Auto Art for all of his amazing work. Thanks for being on the pod last week, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who jumped in.
Very well received.
And threw out some really great questions and comments and stuff like that. Check out his Instagram, Facebook, Redbubble, all the socials. Get on the emails. Get yourself some discounts in discount time and support some wonderful, wonderful art. He wasn't as up and about. I saw he's done an Oscar artwork already. But he didn't fly with it.
Oh, not like you did with the
Not
Lewis
like
one.
the Lewis one.
Did you feel a bit special that we saw the Lewis one before it was released?
Yes.
I did, yeah. And I must say, I bloody love that Lewis one. I was, after our conversation...
We've got an Oscar one now.
No, but after that conversation, I was looking at what Oscar was going to do out of the car.
Yep.
I was hoping he might do something really cool, and he just put the finger up. I was like, oh, come on, Oscar, do something a bit cooler.
A little bit of Seb, the little bit of Seb finger was back, and I loved it. So, yes, anyway.
No, I was thinking of Chris when he got out of the car.
Promote it, Chris. Everyone wants Oscar. No one wants to hear about Lewis anymore. Anyway, Should we go across the race weekend?
Yep.
It pains me to say it.
Go on, do it.
I know
Do
you've
it,
had
do
a
it, do
really good weekend again.
I know I did.
And it upsets me. It upsets me a lot. And I think it upsets our listeners too.
I hope so.
I
I hope it upsets as many people as possible.
Anyway, you had the great man for his maiden victory with the double points. But Laws Van der Veer, thank you, Laws, for keeping me and everyone else sane. 310 points was Lawrence.
But he used his DRS triple.
That's okay. He beat
number.
you. That's fine. So 310 for Lawrence, and he is the round winner. You came home in second on 260.
Yep, way clear of third.
Yes, way clear of third. And Dean Holt in third place on 236. Chloe Anderson, 227 in fourth. Jason Carter, 225 in fifth.
Australia, enough said. I like that name this week.
Roman Merrick, 219, and Perez, 217. Jolly and Dye in 8th place on 216, so that's tight there. Gavin Fenner on 212, and Orts, 47, comes home in 10th on 200. I wasn't too far off.
I would have pronounced that Adits. Orts.
I'm going to go Orts.
Let us know.
Let us know. I finished 16th.
That's
I was kind of really happy with myself because after qualifying I was second.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh, so you're not happy with yourself?
No, but then you're second, so that's upsetting. So anyway, you had Georgie.
I'm surprised he still managed to score 27 points.
Me too, actually. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
So Georgie for 27.
Lots of overtakes.
Yuki for 4. 92 for Oscar. 5 for Alex. None for Hulk. But you had Mercedes and McLaren on 58 and 74. So that was pretty, I don't know. I guess that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess so. If you...
Oh, he got the fastest lap, George.
Ah, did he? Oh,
10 points to that.
It's 10 points fast lap,
There
so that's
you go.
really good.
Positions gained was 9, so he got 9 points for that. Race position, 4 points, and race overtake bonus.
Yes. I ended up on 189. I had Lando for the double. He had 56. I had 1 point for Dan, none for Hulk, 4 for Yuki, 7 for Ocon. I did a little bit of flick out with Mercedes, actually. I kind of dumped Mercedes, and I backed in Ferrari because they were looking good.
Panicky.
They were looking good. I waited till Q3, and I was really happy with them. So,
panicky.
Don't know. So, I went McLaren 74, and I threw Ferrari in for 47. So, I'll see how we're looking on Friday and Saturday night when we are in Spa. Whether or not I'm going to go back with the change there, too. So let's have a look at our league as well. And we'll go through our top 10 for the league. And we'll have a look at where you are too, I guess. I'm still sitting around in 9th, but it's at the very top. It's Laws Van der Veer on 3,011. Dean Holt in 2nd. Perez in 3rd, 2,833. Chloe Anderson, Roman Merrick, Andy Tails.
That's a new name in there, isn't it?
Yeah, 2,831. Jolien Dyer, David Rojas, myself in 9th place, and Adam Hughes, 2,693. So thanks to Chris.
Pretty tight at the top.
Very.
There's not a lot of difference there. And the win over the weekend is actually giving him the lead.
It has. I think it has. So yeah.
There you go. Wonderful. There you go. So I think he's taken the lead from Dean Holt. So they've had a little swap, first and second, but very close.
Very close.
Good racing. Thank you very much to Dr. Auto Art. Go and check out the Oscar Piastri artwork. And, I did like the Lewis one. I was like, I could nearly put the Lewis one up in here. I'm not a Lewis man. But I was really taken by it.
Very good. Oh, tell you what, that Bath cappuccino.
You're on your way out. News. There's a little bit of news before we finish up.
There's
a little bit of news.
We have an Alpine livery.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I'm going to look at it because I'm just going to...
No, just focus. You've got a couple of moments.
It's going to take a minute to recover from this Bath cappuccino.
You've got a couple of moments. The other news coming out is that we're not changing the points allocation system in Formula One for next year. Tristan?
Thank God for that, because it was a stupid idea anyway.
It was.
Remember when you wanted to allocate points from, what was it, last to first?
That's what they wanted to do.
You were a big fan of that. You want to give everyone a cuddle after the race and be like, oh, you did a good job.
I think if you go back and listen to the episode, I said I can see what they're trying to achieve.
See, I heard...
But I didn't want to change.
I didn't hear that. I heard that's a great idea, and I think that was the thing.
It was just I was trying to have an open mind about things.
You wanted to give everyone a trophy, basically, at the end of every single lap.
You're in some form tonight.
I told you.
We might have to have a chat after this.
It's the Bath cappuccino.
It might be all over for old Tristan.
The Bath cappuccino.
Any other news?
Alpine have got a new livery.
Anything else?
It looks
Go and check it
brilliant.
out, because
It looks
otherwise this
brilliant.
episode's going to be
I'll put
really
some
boring
things
for
up.
you.
Mattia Binotto has been snapped up by Audi.
Oh, really?
Did you not know that?
No, I saw that Andrea Stella.
Mm.
No, Andrea Stella? Yes. No?
Andreas Seidel.
Andreas Seidel. My other favourite Andreas from McLaren.
Do you know? Like, do you have lots of favourite?
Nah, I just found it funny that they replaced one for another one that had very similar names.
So
I thought this is
Mattia Binotto has been touted by Audi.
Oh, so not picked up.
No, he has been picked up. So
Signed?
he's joining.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yep. So he's joining Audi, and he is gonna his first protocol is to lead the project into its initial season, Formula One.
Yeah.
And then what his role looks after that, well, we're not quite sure.
We're not sure. He's not sure.
Yes, but anyway, he has got a good signing. I like it. It's a pretty good call.
So Andreas Seidel has left. Interesting. Were you surprised that he didn't see it out? McLaren now sacked him. Audi's now sacked him. Things aren't going well for him, are they?
I just think that it was the experience that he will bring as a lead man at Ferrari, whereas Andreas was the lead man at a struggling McLaren in a probably tumultuous time.
Oh, you got a bit unlucky because they got it right not long after it, didn't it?
And I wonder what role this will have to play in the courting of Carlos Sainz, because they got the history of working together. If you look at what Fred's done for grabbing Lewis and their relationship they had,
this is their move.
I wonder what this will do.
We've said a long time that
Carlos
Mattia Binotto has got a lot to offer Formula One.
He does,
and I'm surprised it's taken this long. I love that sign. I knew that there was talk of it. I hadn't seen that it had been done. So
it happened yesterday morning.
I think that's wonderful news. Okay, there you go. Anything else?
No.
Next race, Spa this weekend. Oh, I love Spa. I love. If you were going to go to Spa, where would you go and watch? Like you've got to go and watch En Rouge, don't you? You've got to go and try and see a car come up through En Rouge at some point in your life, don't you? Radio
yep.
Into En Rouge, yep. What is?
I mean, like, it's different now. Like, grandstands there and the little house on the hill.
Oh, but it'll still be cool.
I don't think the Camel Straight would be.
No, God no.
Thrilling.
No, but the end of it would be okay.
Do I want to be at En Rouge? I'm just thinking about where we are.
I think, for me, it's just like you've got so many opportunities. The first corner, what a great spot to watch the start of a race. But then you go around the back, and so through practice, you go around the back and you watch them through those big sweeping bends. It would just be Formula One at its greatest, I feel like, around the back. If you're watching them just stuck to the road, full power. Oh, I love every part of it.
I think I'd want to be about turn 6.
Yep.
After we come down to Camel Straight, and then you head into the little chicane.
Yes.
But then it's the turn after the chicane, the right-hander.
Yes.
I think I'd want to be there.
Okay. The one after that would be good too, because they come down the hill into the sweeping.
Sweeping in, but then I don't mind 7 and 8. 8 grandstand.
Yep.
8. I think just in there would be good. I mean, as nice as Radion and Rouge would be.
I'm with you. Yep.
It'd be a good spectacle for a moment to see it. But yeah, I think it'd be better to see them in those other locations too.
It just speaks volumes for this bloody joint, doesn't it? Because you would be happy anywhere. Like the last chicane.
You kind of would be.
The last chicane.
Bus stop chicane, yeah.
Well, I hate it that they call it that still, because it just...
But that's what it is, though.
I know,
that's what it is.
Well, it isn't. It's what it's called, but the bus stop chicane is actually gone. It just... Yeah, but anyway. It just speaks volumes to this joint. And, I've got to get myself there. I've got to get there at some stage. Because, it is... For me, it's what racing should be all about. But, what's your tip?
What's my tip?
The undercut's strong here again.
You know what? I'm going back-to-back Oscars.
Whoa!
Yeah, I am.
Stop it!
I'm going back-to-back Oscars. He's been threatening. And he got it, and now he's on.
There's a lot of people with a theory that Oscar has been driving better than Lando over the last 2 months.
Yeah, no, that's me of it. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, it's not that far off the mark.
It's we're going back-to-back Oscars.
I keep on backing in Max.
Okay.
And I feel like, I want to keep that run going because everyone else keeps on having the better results, just because, not because I hate Max, just because I'm loving all these extra results.
Okay.
But no, I don't think I am. I love the Oscar call. I think it's a McLaren. I think it's a McLaren. Oh, yeah. No, I'll back in Max.
Okay.
I'll back in Max.
All right.
My head says Max. My
All
heart
right.
says Oscar.
All right. I'm going back-to-back Oscars.
I want to see Ricciardo in fourth.
Okay.
Come on, man.
All right.
Come on out, man.
All right.
But yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back with Fan Frenzy before the end of the week. Apologies for the late start. We had a engagement we couldn't get out of, but
And I'll be sure to not be indulging in bath cappuccinos again next week.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Somehow withhold, please.
If a 3-year-old offers you a soapy cup of water,
Show some restraint, man.
don't. You can't. How can you? How can you say no? He's so excited.
I don't want to end this episode.
No, he's so excited.
This is an Oscar episode. Well done, Oscar Piastri. We're proud of you. Aussie Oscar, friend of the pod. Goodbye now.